This is Heard Between the Ears, a podcast about candid conversations and human contradictions. We're your hosts, Anna and Kendra. Welcome to Heard Between the Ears. I am one of two of your hosts, Anna. And this, my
And I'm
dear, is
Kendra.
Kendra.
Hey, y'all.
Today's episode is focusing on hearing versus listening. So the contradiction of hearing versus listening, which sounds like the same thing. However, we are here to tell you not the case in our experience, correct?
Absolutely.
Uh,
I think one of the things that we were talking about this episode is something that I always said to my mom, even to this day, is I hear you, but I'm not listening. Or she would ask me, are you hearing? Or are you listening to me? And so like this idea that we could be paying attention or not when we are hearing someone saying words, like how we're digesting the information we're getting.
it's funny that you would actually say it to her face and that it was understood.
It
So
was
what's,
always after a lecture. It was
of
always after
course,
a lecture. And so like for me to like bring some humor and just to cut the tension in the room, it's like, I heard you, mom, but I'm not listening right now.
right. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, I can very much relate to this. I do this even in adulthood. I'll be like, I hear you, but it's a way for me to also escape whatever it was that we just talked about. Like, I hear you, but like here's all the ways that I'm going to be like I'm not hearing you. Like it's almost like an immediate follow-up to like I hear you, but here's what I have to say about it. Does this ever happen to you as well? Do you still
Even
say I
now
hear
with
you?
friends, yeah, I think even now with friends, when like I get some tough love or like I'm in my feelings about something and then like somebody calls me out about it, but I'm like not in the space to really like digest everything that was said. So then I'll say, I hear you. But then like the next day or whenever I've like calmed down and experienced all of my emotions, then I'm like, hey, I heard what you said, but I wasn't listening at the time. And so now that I've had a chance to kind of feel all of my feelings, what you said, I heard what you said and I listened and I took it in. And so like now I'm able to process and want to talk about what you said. So I've done that actually. The last time I did that was over the summer actually with my friend where she was giving me some tough love and I was just like at the moment I was in my like I was very upset. And like when I'm
Hmm.
upset, like it's very hard for me to take in new information that is obviously rational and makes 1000%, but like because I am just so at a 20, I'm at a 20 right now.
Yeah.
And so like anything you say, even it how rational it is, I'm not going to be able to take it in because I'm not in the space to be able to take that in. And so being able to share that and like I think that was the first time for the two of us where I was very much in my feelings and like couldn't take in anything she said. And so the fact that we were able to have that conversation like the next day after I had calmed down has really changed for the better our relationship because like now she knows like if I'm upset, now is not the time. Let
Yeah.
me experience my feelings. Let me experience all of the emotions, whether they are rational or not. Let me experience all of my emotions right now, and then I am in a better space after that to be able to have reasonable, rational conversations. I can't do that when um, my brain is going off and my emotions are high.
For sure. 1000%. I was just thinking, what do you think like the percentages of conflict being part of hearing versus listening? Do you think it's like 100%? Do you think it's like because we can talk about selective listening too. Like if somebody's just kind of like talking and trying to tell you something and whatever, and you're like involved in, the classic example of like watching TV or whatever, selective listening, like maybe, I'm sure both of our parents were probably like, you need to clean your room. And it's like, I didn't hear that right now because I'm just really interested in what TV program is on in front of me, like, yeah.
I would say that most arguments are because people aren't listening to each other.
For sure. Yeah.
They are either waiting to respond to the other person versus actually taking in and listening to them, listening to what they're saying. And they're just waiting to respond versus like active listening and saying, huh, you make good points, or I didn't think about it this way, or wow, I didn't know I was doing that to you.
Yeah. I wonder so like, to the people who can process quickly, I mean, kudos to you because there would be like a loading bar or something just like on my, like I need some sort of like, because somebody will hit me with some information and not that I'm like glazing over, but like there's definitely something happening in my brain where I am trying to catch up with whatever was just said. And then depending on how the person is delivering this information to you, whether it's like rapid fire and they're not taking a pause or a beat, or the art of conversation and dialogue where somebody can like pause and have like the space for there to be an exchange. Like whenever somebody is having a conflict with me, I will generally just like, it's like processing mode. Like I cannot come up with whatever my argument or rebuttal is, or like how I want to have the conversation. So similarly to you, I'm like, like I need to process this. It's going to be really hard for me to, have a resolution quickly here with like very big items.
I would I would agree kind of to that. And I say that because like on the one hand, like when I am angry,
Mm-hmm.
like upset, it's easy for me to go on attack mode and just like spit everything out. And that's not always good because I always feel guilty after the fact because like when I spit everything out when I'm angry, I say things that are way below the belt.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh man, I shouldn't have said that. And this is why I don't like to like have conversations with people when I'm angry because it just all comes out rapid fire. But
Mm-hmm.
then like on the other end, when I'm like on the receiving end of somebody's anger or like they're just like giving me all these things, it takes me a while to process to have a comeback to that. And so like it's either rapid fire because I'm
Yeah.
angry, or it's I shut down and I need to process and I don't know what to say now because I'm on the receiving end of this and my brain, I always say this, my brain and my thoughts move at the speed of light. So it's
Yeah.
very hard for me sometimes to process everything the way that I want to. And so when anger is directing the conversation, it's easy to do that. But when it's not, then it's just like, I don't know how to respond to this.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, this is interesting too, because if we're going back to, you know, it, in therapy, they call it like family origin or whatever. So I don't know, or I can probably count on one or two hands how many times I saw my parents argue. And if these are my models of like who I'm looking for in how to learn how to have these types of strong, high emotion engagements, like I didn't see much of a model of what it looks like to argue or be in conflict. So my go-to, what will generally happen to me is I will immediately go into shutdown mode. If there is if somebody is coming at me with a lot of anger, like I immediately shut down. And I would say that I hear a lot of what is going on, but again, like I immediately will go into processing mode or shut down and like retreat mode until it's like a bottle up effect, or like that analogy of like a pan on a stove that's just like constantly similar simmering until it just bubbles over. So like I feel like I can definitely relate to, you're like, I react in one of two ways. It's shut down, or it's like I'll just immediately lash out. I will always shut down until I immediately lash out. And
Mm,
then it's like I don't even know what I'm saying because I'm seeing it's not even, it's like fire engine red into purple into orange at that point. But I can only, I can't, I can still probably only count on one hand how many times I have gotten to that point. Like, I just do not, anger is not an emotion that comes out of me naturally. Um, which is like, I'm trying to, I think, get better at speaking up for myself sooner and advocating for myself sooner. So I think with listening, it's just kind of like, okay, I'm a listen, I'm a process, and then I'm a let's figure this out and hopefully figure it out sooner than later.
for me, I always get this the compliment that I'm a really good listener. And I think that's because I'm nosy. But also um I like to know who people are. And so like I tend to be quiet more when people are talking to me. And so I think people say that I'm a good listener because I'm trying to process who you are as a person and get to know you better. Because one thing that I have learned on my time on earth is people will always tell you who they are. They
Mm-hmm.
will always tell you. You just have to pay attention. And so, because of that, especially with people that I'm not necessarily comfortable around or I'm still getting to know, I always do less talking. I do less talking because I want to see who you are as a person, what you represent, and to see if this is going to align with me. And I think that also comes from, I think that comes from two places for me. One, I was a sociology major in undergrad,
Mm,
the study of people in society and why we do the things that we do. And so that has always been intriguing for me. We talked about in our last episode that I was bullied. And so, like, trying to understand why people treated me the way that they did, even though I didn't feel like I was different. But, like, it's like, I don't understand. Like, we're in the same classes, we do the similar things. And so I think that all kind of stems from just like being curious. That's what my
yeah.
mom likes. I always like to say I'm nosy, but my mom says I raised you to be a curious person. And so I guess I was always just curious about people. But I think also for me, I did a lot of interviewing.
Mm,
I did a lot of projects in high school. I did in college, grad school. I got a lot of interviewing, and that requires a lot of active listening skills that they teach you. And so I think that is also contributing to why I think I'm a good active listener. Though I will say that I tend to interrupt people a lot when I get
hmm.
really excited. So like when I'm really excited, I'll start jumping in and then I'm not listening. I'm hearing and I'm excited. And so I'm just like rambling but or interrupting, but it's not because I don't want to listen to you. It's always because I'm excited about what you're talking about, and I want to continue. I want to move the conversation along because I already know where you're going. Sometimes I do know where people are going, and I just get really excited. But a lot of times I don't. It's like, oh, I should just be quiet and listen.
I just had a moment of doing exactly what you just said. Like, I wanted to jump in so badly and be like, oh my gosh, me too. This is exactly, you're talking my language. This is exactly how I feel about this. So I too feel like I am somebody who is a listener. I think it's like my nature. I just like also to, again, be curious and with people, like, to your point, give them the opportunity to kind of like show you who they are before you come back at them with, whatever the subject matter is that you're talking about, or even if you're just like baseline taking the temperature of people and what they're having to say. But you did say something interesting. So it's like it's those people will tell you who they are. So when people are telling you, I feel like they're also showing you at the same time by way of, if they've got really good eye contact, or if they're nodding their head, when you're speaking with each other, if they're leaning into the conversation because they're very interested in what it is that you have to say, or if they're leaning back. So body language and listening. I I'm somebody who pays a lot of attention to body language. Like, and I mean, people will tell you and or show you who they are, encapsulated in their human form. And I think that's something that's so interesting, and like the art of body language and having like really good connection with people. And I am such a huge sucker for eye contact. In fact, like I've been on like some dates where if this person is like angling their body away from me and having terrible eye contact with me and paying attention to other things. And then, like, the date goes on and this, that, and the other. And they're like, well, do you want to go out again? And I'm like, what do you mean, do I want to go out? But you spent the entire time like leaning away from me and out of like, it felt like you were out of the conversation. Like, it's not attractive. So I think it's a really interesting way of like human connection and like, again, showing this like active listening versus just hearing and being elsewhere in the universe.
I agree with that. I'm also a big body language reader. Is that like I like to read body language, and it's part of the reason why I always put my phone down
Hmm.
when I'm having conversations with people, especially like if it's like a good friend that I'm like just really interested to like, how are you? What's going on in your world? And tell me all the things when we're out at dinner or lunch or wherever. I always like, if you see me, I keep my phone in my bag just because I want to give you my undivided attention. And I feel like because that's what I want to give you, I also want you to give me the same thing. And so like I find it to be very rude, quite honestly, or disrespectful when people like we're having these in-depth conversations, but you keep pulling out your phone. Like I understand that we're all connected to our phones, but like you can't leave your phone for like 10 minutes to have this
Right.
conversation. Like what is going on?
Yeah. Like what thing is on your social feed that you just really need to pay attention to? Because I can't like I know a lot of people have group chats happening and this, that, and the other, but like I similarly to you, I would say that's probably it's definitely a top five pet peeve for me. Like it might even be top two to three, really. Like between body language and like active listening with setting devices aside, and like even it's like I don't even necessarily want to go to a place that has a TV because I feel like everybody just has this like magnetic energy towards screens where it's like you see something and like all of a sudden like you're disengaged because you're paying attention to anything else except for what's in front of you.
Hmm. And I
Yeah.
always like it also bothers me because I'm like, am I just like boring you? Like,
Boring.
it also just like, am I boring you? Or are you just not interested in the conversation? Like, it also hurts sometimes, just like, so you don't want to hear anything that I say. Okay, then I just stop talking.
Yeah.
But I will say that I am guilty of that, especially when I go places where there's TVs.
Yeah.
And it's football season, and it's just like, oh, I gotta see what game's on. It's like, do not take me to a sports bar during football season because I will not be paying attention to you.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. Um, I mean, not to bring like dating stories back into this, but it's something that ends up being, top of mind for me because I'm just out here, seemingly thirsty girl, I guess. But I I dated a guy last year who he had kids, and so he was like being a dad was number one for him. And I think that too is like another part of the equation, right? Like when you're out with girlfriends, if they've got kids, like I understand that you want to be close to your phone because, you know, if you've got a babysitter, somebody over at your house who's watching your kids, you need to be accessible. But like it in this relationship, it got to the point where I was just like, you worked from home and you spent so much time like in front of a device anyway. And I understand that like you're away from your kids and you want to check in with them, but like setting these boundaries of like when it was okay to be on your phone and actively engage versus like, can we just have, you know, it wasn't even going to take an hour to eat together, like to have a meal at that point. It was like a 30-minute, what, like you can't, you're telling me that you are so involved and engaged in your phone that you can't just let it be for 30 minutes so that we can, you know, have a conversation and be with each other. So like just one of the many reasons why that relationship didn't work out. But yeah,
And
screen
I
time.
mean, I mean, yeah, and I get that. I'm not a parent. I will never pretend to understand like needing to be constantly, you know, ensuring that your kids are okay and constantly being connected to your phone. But at the same time, like you can't give me like
30
20
minutes.
minutes, 30
Yeah,
minutes,
right.
30 minutes.
Something.
Because it's one thing to like check it like when there's a lull in the conversation to kind of check it, but like to be on the phone the entire time we're having
Yeah.
trying to have a conversation, it's just like
Disrespectful.
whoa.
Lack of boundaries, and I felt super disrespected for sure. Yeah. I so like this screen culture, because like I see it happening to my niece, and like my brother is such a fantastic dad, but like, and other friends are fantastic parents too, but like when people need a break and they're like, this is the one thing that I know is going to maintain the attention of my kid for, you know, a long enough period of time so that I can focus my attention elsewhere. It's just like when I was little, I'm like, what did I was trying to recall, like, what was it that I would do? You just kind of like had to find things to do to entertain yourself, or like, I don't even, I, I can't even remember back that far, to be honest, like when I was so
I
little.
mean, we used to go outside. Like
Yeah.
when I just remember like the weekends is when we were like during the week we weren't allowed to watch TV. But we could like right before bed, like this is why I can't go to bed without the TV being on
Oh
because
man.
my parents would turn it like we were so we couldn't watch TV like when we got home from school because that was like homework time and just like catching up.
Yeah.
And then like we would be in bed getting ready and we would be able to watch 30 minutes of TV. And then like once the TV timer goes off, that was it. And so the weekends was the time that we had like we could watch TV whenever, however, whatever. But like because we were just like we didn't have cell phones. Like that wasn't a thing back then. And so
Mm.
like we would be craving to go outside. So anytime like we got done with our chores and we had nothing to do, it wasn't TV time. It was like, let's go out and play. Let's go to the playground. Let's go ride our bikes. So like I don't even I don't know. Like
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
like it just wasn't a thing back then.
Right.
There was the technology was not it was
Portable.
there, but it wasn't yes, exactly. It
Yeah.
wasn't portable. Like
Right.
you had these big block TVs and like
Right.
yeah, it just you had to find something else, whether that was going playing with the neighbor kid, uh going and find kids at the park to play with. Like you had to figure it out because there was no like sitting and doing because even that got boring. Like I
Right.
remember a time in my life where sitting and watching TV for an entire day was boring.
Yeah. I feel
And
that
now
way
I
as
do
an adult.
that.
Yeah. But I'm okay with it. Like it's kind of like that. I'm like the double whenever my Netflix will come yell at me and be like, "Are we still watching?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm actually still watching. I'm on hour number 8 of like Grey's Anatomy reruns. Get off me." Like whatever. I just need to escape. Like it's a way, definitely a way to escape. And I think I
Mhm.
tune out a lot of like what's happening anyway. It's just like the action of sitting in mindlessness and like I mean being it's like yes, I understand and I realize that I am bored, but like and I'm bored because I'm sitting here watching so much TV, but like the entire week has just consumed me with so much energy and effort that like this is my way to zone out entirely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I
Um
do it all the time.
for sure. Oh yeah. So like one thing that this kind of reminded me of as well is like having music on in the background. Are you the type of person who, if you're working, do you like to have music on in the background, or do you like complete silence, or does it matter on like what it is that you're doing? Because I have a preference.
I have a preference too. Like I can't listen, honestly, I can't listen to music when I'm working unless it's classical music. And I love classical music. So like I'll put classical music on when I really need to focus. But I can't listen to just like anything when I'm
Yeah.
working, like music wise, because I will get up and dance. Like I will be the person singing, dancing, getting distracted and not doing my work.
Yeah.
But when I turn on the TV and I play like reruns of shows that I've seen like a billion times, like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, or I just finished watching again for the umpteenth time Living Single, like
Oh my God.
I can do that and have that on in the background and work because it's like I've seen these shows a million times, so like I don't really need to pay attention to it. So I can work great when it's like an old show. But like it's either classical music or old reruns of TV shows that I love that I can work to. Anything else, I'm not doing the work.
Yeah. It's so I now work in this like open office concept where like there's essentially like I think 5 or 6 desks that are like in one space, and then we have 2 conference rooms that have doors, and then one conference room that's open. And when I came in, like they would just be playing like whatever music and like chit chatting and this, that, and the other. And I was going, oh my God, like I was having like a visceral reaction to there's no way that I'm gonna be able to get any work done because there is just so much distraction just happening in front of me. So like I keep to this day, like, and they don't care. Like I keep finding myself, I'll go into like the open conference room. That's also where the windows are in the office. So I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna go work in front of some windows and see like mountains off in the distance. But like similarly to you, whatever the music is in the background, like if there is any sort of like real recognition to lyrics and if it's like upbeat and whatever, then I am also very much inclined to be like, oh my gosh, I love this song. Like, da, da, da. I need something in the background that's just like, if it's anything, it's just something that's super mellow and like I can just tune it out. So like it has been
Hmm.
a complete learning curve for me to be able to like get work done as
Hmm.
there is so much other stuff happening in
Hmm.
the room, because I'll eavesdrop on conversations too. And then I'll be like, it looks like I'm working, but I'm really just like, what are they talking about?
Listening.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that my brother says has always said since we were little about like my listening skills. So it goes two ways. So one is I can listen to multiple conversations and know exactly what's going on in each.
Mm.
But
Hmm.
the second thing is I am also really good at tuning people out too. So like if I am very concentrated on a thought up here or like reading a book or something, or somebody is actively talking to me, I can literally tune them out and not hear a single thing that they're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
It is it's insane because I like do it all the time and I'm just like I'm not trying not to listen to you, but like I like you say either they said something and then my brain goes on this tangent about what they said and then I'm just like I have zoned out. So
Right.
I have not heard anything that you said because I am now hyper focused on this thought that I just ran away with. But then on the other hand, like I can also listen to 3 conversations happening all at once and then like jump in at different parts of the conversation. It's insane how I am the way that I am.
That's so funny. I love people watching. And I also would like, I'll say get in trouble because like I would be sitting next to somebody and like, or in front of somebody, and then I would be like, whatever was happening behind that person would catch my eye, and I would be like, okay, what's going on over there? And that, like, I would just stop engaging with the person in front of me, and I'd be like, blank stare, like mouth open, and it's just like, okay, let's bring it back, like, come into focus and like pay attention to who's in front of you. So it's
Yeah.
definitely the thing is, it's so funny because I feel like we have both been able to talk in circles about I'm a good listener. I pay attention to people. I pick up on body language. in the same breath, like what I just said, like I can do all those things, but I also am like a complete sucker for like, I'm just like, what's going on behind that like what's up over there? Like you're just, it's curiosity. Like to your point, I feel like,
Yeah.
your antenna, what it
Right.
picks up.
But do you think so? I, do you think that our short attention span when it comes to listening to people is due to like how we've been conditioned on social media where everything just comes quickly and it's like, oh, I'm bored with this. Next, next, next.
I mean, maybe. Yeah, I think that's probably a good way of thinking about it and bringing it back. But like, I think it's also like collective human nature too. It's like everybody has so much of everything else going on around them too. Like, I feel like I say this somewhat often all the time. It's like now that there are just so many different choices and so many different things coming at us by way of like the evolution of everything, like, I feel like we're all just being conditioned to whatever the next thing is. We're not able to hold our attention span because like it's constantly like, this hidden programming that's just hitting us with, okay, it's time to do something
Everything.
else. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All of this information. I blame Al Gore.
The
He's the one that pushed
inventor of the internet, is that what you're
the
trying to
inventor
say?
of the internet.
Yeah.
He's the reason why we have all of this information coming at us all the time. I mean, it's not a bad thing to be having access to so many things, but also it can be bad because like look where we are. We're in a society where people are able to get in this trap of believing things that aren't true because it was on the internet.
Yeah, I know. The internet is such a huge freaking place, man. Like, and the people who are into like the Reddits and the threads and the this and the that of the world, my mind is even more so blown. Like, feel like I feel like the internet is just like somebody being on drugs because one, I'm like, where did all this information come from? Like, what the hell? But two, now that I am in the career path that I'm in, we do a lot of like web development and design. So like people's websites, they will come to us and be like, I need a website. And so now I've seen the back end of what a website looks like. And I'm just like, holy cow. I was just like, my mind was completely blown because there is literally somebody who has to input the information and like publish it. I think for
Mhm.
whatever reason, my mind wasn't working in the way where it was like, oh, this information's coming from somewhere. I don't know. It was just
Yeah,
like
no.
magical. Like all of a sudden stuff was appearing. I'm such an old person.
Yeah, and I know because I have multiple websites, so I knew
Yeah.
that that was how that's how a website works. You
Well,
have
I
to
mean,
put
but
that
like
information in.
Kendra, even stuff like, even if I were to type in hearing versus listening, it pulls up all of the stuff. Like, it's such a big place. Like the internet is, I know I've gone on a complete tangent, but
Completely, yeah.
I derailed the conversation, stopped listening, and started putting in my own agenda about how big the internet is. Anyway,
I started the tangent when I blamed Al Gore for creating the internet.
I mean, whatever. It happens. There's just a full circle. We've also probably hit a threshold where it's like, okay, we've had a pretty long conversation about hearing versus listening. Like I think our brains
Mhm.
are probably like, well, what else do I want to say about this? And so we've now,
Right.
human nature has dictated that we're ready to talk about something else.
Yes. Yeah.
Do
There
you want to
it is, proving our point.
proving our point? Our threshold is apparently like 40 minutes. Do you want to hit me with your hidden question, or do you want me to hit you with my hidden
Sure.
question?
Well,
Yeah?
I'll go first this time
Okay.
since you went
Okay.
first last time. All right. So, do you think you do more listening or hearing, and why?
Hmm. Do I think I do more hearing versus listening? This is a good one. I think I do more hearing versus listening, if I'm being quite honest, because again, to our point, you kind of like jump into somebody's thought and you kind of run away with it. So I feel like it's like, yeah, I'm jamming and I'm like in this conversation. And then, oh my God, you just said something that's like, I'm really, really passionate and really interested, or I feel some kind of way about whatever it is that we just talked about. And I want to engage with you, but I want to kind of take over the conversation. So I feel like that happens more to me in my adult life versus I think as a kid, I was probably more of a listener than hearing just because I didn't want to get in trouble. And so I was always like, make sure you're good and like listen to what your
Mhm.
teacher says and don't get your name written on the board. But now because I like to engage with humankind, I feel like I'm definitely more of a hearing type of gal than a listening type of gal. What would you say? Same? Similar?
Yeah, I would say the same thing just because I interrupt people so much. And it's not because it's just I get really excited.
Right. Yeah. I
I
think
get
it's
really
only
excited.
natural.
Yeah. But I think what I'm trying to do, like I know, like self-awareness. So I know that I do that a lot. So I'm trying to work on listening more before speaking. Like even when I feel the urge to like interrupt somebody because I'm so excited, like I take a breath and let them
Hmm.
finish. And I find that helps me to listen to them more before responding, to actually listen versus just like, okay, I have an answer. I gotta say something.
Right.
So it's still I'm still, a work in progress, but I
Aren't
think
we all?
that has helped me.
Definitely. Well, and I think too, it depends on who your audience is. Like,
Mm,
if they're going to receive the information well and in a way where it's like, okay, we can talk about this, and it becomes more of like
mhm,
a joint thing, or to our
mhm,
point again, like, is this person going to fly off the handle? Like, because sometimes it's better to just sit there and take it. Like, if they are not going to actively participate in the hearing and or listening part, you might just
mhm.
write it off and be like, I'm just going to move on because like this is going to fall on deaf ears, or like they're not going to listen or hear me. Okay, so my question, it kind of relates. I thought that this could kind of relate, but I'll open it up a little bit more. So what is the last new thing or skill that you learned?
About listening?
So that's the thing. Like, it could be the last new soft skill, for example, like something that's a universal language, or it could be something that's more of like a hard skill, like you took up a magic school or something.
Okay. Say the question one more time. Sorry.
Okay. What was the last new thing or skill you learned?
That is a really good question.
I
Now I'm
feel
like
like
racking
you're
my brain.
always learning something new. You. Like last week, you talked about my mind was just completely blown because I started thinking
Hmm.
about how this starts to cater to like it's kind of a new skill. I don't know, but because you're an entrepreneur now, so there's probably a lot of things that you're like, oh shit, I didn't realize that like I payroll, like I could.
Well, it's just me on payroll, so I don't actually have to learn payroll. Okay, so a new skill or something that I've learned recently. So I think I don't want to go back on that tangent about what I learned from Invisible Women. So I'm gonna like let that one go. But I
Okay,
think for me, not new-ish, but like I feel like I've come to the realization about this.
okay, tell me more.
And it's about walking.
You're learning how to walk again.
No, it's about so talk to me like 10 years ago and learning that I love to walk as much as I do, I would have laughed in your face. Like I hated walking. But now, but like, and the thing is, walking isn't new to me because I feel like I started this walking journey during the pandemic because like we'd be in the house all the time, so I would go on walks. But
Hmm.
then, like, since I moved here and I live in a neighborhood where I can like walk everywhere to some of the places that I want to go to, that I'm just like, it literally hit me the other day because other people have said, oh, yeah, because you've even said it to me, you love walking, and it's just
Yeah,
like, yeah, I mean, it's fine, it's what I do, but it's not something I would say that I
enjoy.
love, but like,
Yeah,
literally hit me the other day. It's like I actually do like,
I really like walking.
I actually do like
Well,
to
I feel
walk.
like for you anyway, like now that you've had this shift in your life, like you can, it's kind of a nice reset. Like, what do
Hmm.
you want to put your energy towards? Like,
Hmm.
if you want to walk, like, girl, get your walk on. Like, you can walk in the middle of the day. You can walk whenever you feel like. When you want to walk, you
Right.
go walk. Yeah.
Right, right. So I think for me, that was the new thing that I learned about I would say learned about myself
Yeah. Yeah.
literally this past week, that I enjoy walking. Now, I've never been on a hike, so I would love to do that.
Come on
Yeah,
out.
so
Yeah. You will, if
but
you like
yeah,
walking, just wait until you start hiking.
imagine.
The scenery.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. What about you?
So the thing that's coming to mind for me is I am learning how to mountain bike. Um, because I just got a mountain bike and I live in the mountains and I have road biked before, like cycling on a road, which is 1,000 times easier than mountain biking. I am so aware as an adult of pretty much everything that can go wrong that I am just like on this bike gripping the brakes like in a lot of fear and panic because I don't want to fly over the handlebars and hurt myself.
Sure.
But it's so whenever somebody's like, "Oh, it's like riding a bike." I'm like, "Mountain biking is a little bit more than just riding your bike because there is a lot of stuff that can get in the way. I'm very aware of again, like the things that can go wrong. I want to enjoy it because there's a good community of people who do it out here and I think it's a way of connecting with them. But I'm just like I am learning how to mountain bike, but I'm not trying to also be like some gold medalist. Like I just want to be able to like cruise through these trails that I have now been able to access and
Hmm.
it's an adventure. So I'm going mountain biking with two girls today and I'm just like, "Oh my god, do I need a mouth guard? Like what? Cuz I don't want to I'm just like I'm going to show up like the woman wrapped in like bubble wrap and just like, "Oh, don't let me fall off my bike." Like, yep, that's what I'm
So
doing.
you have like the helmet, the knee pads, the elbow pads, the wrist, all of the things.
I don't. I have a helmet. This is all I have at this point in my life.
No wonder you're
The person
terrified.
who is, yeah, the person is, I'm in complete fear of everything that can go wrong. At the same time, yes, all I have is a helmet. So
Oh
I
my
told them, I was
goodness.
like, I am a beginner. Please take me on the tame, like the tame mountain biking trails. And so I trust these women and I think I'll be okay. And I know the two trails that we're going to go on are
Pretty safe.
easier. Yeah.
Okay.
I won't say that they're safe, but they're easier. So we'll see. Next time you see me, like, think of me. Just make sure that I make it to the next episode.
I'll text you. Are you still live?
Yeah, I'll let you. I will report back at the end of our mountain biking day. Let you know. Well, hearing versus listening. Wrap it up.
I think that was it. And until next time, we'll see you soon.
Until next time. See you soon. Thank you for listening. If you like the podcast, please like and subscribe to the podcast. Drop a comment, leave a review, connect on social media at Heard Between, and keep coming back for more. Until next time.